Welcome back to some more Elite Speak, and I am here with your AEW Dynamite review for September 16th, 2020. And it was a great all-around episode. It was taped. It wasn't live. AEW seems to do their tape shows very nicely. They seem to be live. You would think they're live, but they're not. And that's a nice skill to have. But the show kicked off with the Bucks heading to the ring with Jurassic Express already there. And it turns out they super kicked Mike Posey, the referee. And from there, I'm going, heel Bucks are best for business. The heel young Bucks is entertaining. I like it. I hope they keep it going, and it seems like they are. They super kicked Mike Posey, and that's going to bring with it a fine. So, after they super kicked him, they walked backstage, and they were near Gorilla, and there was Tony Khan. He made a rare TV appearance. The Bucks tossed a stack of money onto Tony Khan, and that was signifying that they don't care that there's a fine. Here you go, because he was going to give him a fine anyway for super kicking Mike Posey. So they just settled that before it even became an issue. They did the same thing on BTE Monday. They went to go throw some money at Khan then, but he wasn't there. He wasn't in his locker room, so they just tossed it in there and closed the door. So a nice ode to that. Nice touch. Heel Bucks, good stuff. But the show kicked off with Jurassic Express versus FTR, the tag team champions. And this was a great match. Great match. Jungle Boy and Dash started the match, and immediately Dash tagged Cash in. And he got to work on Jungle Boy's arm. Jungle Boy then takes down Dax for a lateral press, and he goes to springboard arm drag Dax. Luchasaurus then gets a tag. FTR huddled and talked with Tully just to figure out how to deal with their massive opponent in Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus then power slams Dax from the top rope as he leaped, and he brings Dax to their corner and tags in Jungle Boy. Later, Jungle Boy gets a double Hurricane Rana off on FTR, but then gets power slammed via Cash. He then drives his knees into Jungle Boy's back and rolls him into a submission hold. Later, Jungle Boy gets punished by FTR with the double team maneuvers for a good while. He attempts to make a tag to Luchasaurus, but FTR cuts him off. Dax attempts to toss Jungle Boy out the ring, but he reverses to a clothesline and makes the tag to Luchasaurus again. He runs wild on FTR with his patented hot tag stuff. Later, FTR attempts to double team Luchasaurus, but it backfires. Jungle Boy later reverses a power slam into a roll-up for a 2 count. Later, both trade 2 count near falls in great sequences. But FTR steals one with a pin in their corner as Cash held Dax's hand for leverage on the pin behind the ref's back. And FTR get a victory over the Jurassic Express, and therefore the Jurassic Express does not get an opportunity to challenge for the tag team titles. They will get their opportunity in the future, but tonight was not that night. Great match nonetheless. And I give that match a 3.5. Good stuff. A Dynamite match, almost pay-per-view level. After the match, Matt Hardy was seen backstage, and he appeared to have an incident. Private Party was back helping him out. Then Jericho and Hager then comes to the scene, and it's thought maybe they have something to do with it. Jericho made a slight joke at the expense of Matt as he was holding a baseball bat in his hand, and that led folks to believe that maybe it was Jericho responsible. It would be too easy to assume he was, but who knows? After that, Kenny Omega then walks out to the commentary booth, And he commented on the Hardy situation also before the next match started. And that match was Frankie Kazarian versus Adam Page. Both lock it up. Kaz shows off his mat wrestling skills and gets a roll up on Page for a 2 count. Page then body slams Kaz, then goes in for some chops. Later hits a snap suplex. Page then hits his clothesline, then gets a Piscato off on Kaz to the outside. Then we go to picture-in-picture break. Then we come back from break. Both trade strikes in the middle of the ring. Both attempt to knock one another over, but Kaz was the one step ahead. And Page still gets his clothesline off on Kaz not long after this. Kaz went for a crossbody, but Page caught him for a fallaway slam. Kaz then spiked Page with a DDT for a 2 count. Kaz then gets a backslide pin on Page for a 2 count, but Page flips him over, but Kaz hits his unprettier as a result. Kaz later uses the ropes to bring Page back in with a cutter for a 2 count. Page then looks to end it with a buckshot lariat, but Kaz dodges it. Page later tosses Kaz back into the ring and then attempted to buckshot him again, but Kazarian avoids it. But Page eventually hits the buckshot lariat for the win, and it was good stuff. During the match, Omega was on commentary talking about other things besides being in a match with Page again as a tag team. And Omega then gets up from the commentary booth and walks down the heel tunnel, I believe. And there was no reunion tonight. After that happened, Page looked back to see if Omega was going to come to the ring. He did not. So they're telling a very interesting story there. Page still wants to continue as a tag team with his buddy, but Kenny wants to move on to other things. He wants to be a singles guy. We'll see where this goes. I'm liking it. The match gets a 3.5 from me. Another great match. Almost pay-per-view level. Next up, we had MJF in action. He took on Shawn Dean of AEW Dark fame. MJF immediately went for the salt of the earth. Match was over very quickly. Wardlow later tosses Shawn out of the ring. MJF grabs a mic and claims Mox cheated, and he should still be undefeated. Right now, he should be the AEW World Champ. The crowd chants, "You're a loser." From here on out, since he should be undefeated, we are to refer to him as MJF, the undefeated, undisputed, uncrowned world champion of AEW. He gets Justin Roberts to announce his new title to the whole world. But Justin wasn't taking it. He was taking it lightly. And MJF threatens Justin Roberts, and he says, "Do it with gusto. Say it with gusto." He says he's never going to get a fair shake around here. In order to be anything, you got to be a part of a group or a stable. Maybe it's about time he joins. Maybe it's about time he joins one. Maybe it's about time he's alone no more. If he decides to pick a group or not, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, he's still better than you, and you know it. Great promo from MJF. But the match, being that it was a squash, that gets since it was so quick, it gets a 2. It served its purpose, and it gave MJF some momentum. It gave him another win on his W column. After that, we got a Taz move breakdown. He broke down Ricky Starks' spear and his finisher. I forget what it was called, but it was a good segment. Next, we had Kingston and the Lucha Brothers and the Butcher and the Blade segment. Kingston grabbed a mic, and he said he never lost a battle royale. He should be getting something for that. Not this or that guy. Number 2, we're a family, not a stable or a faction. When fams fight, most of the time they go out to dinner, etc. Not us. We're a family of violence. We are agents of chaos. Find the victim, please, he said. And the Butcher and the Blade immediately go to the wrestler audience, grab two goons, and they get beat down by Kingston and his group as Kingston commented during the foray. He commented during the destruction. They grabbed some guys from the audience, and the Lucha Brothers dismantled them along with the Butcher and the Blade. He said, we now have everything in order. Everyone is ready. But the third point, he looked at Blade and told him, Blade, since we got us together it's time for you to get your house together. And from what I gathered, this means it's time to get Allie back. They're going to be tying up loose ends here. Many wondered why Allie all of a sudden was not the bunny anymore and became infatuated with QT Marshall. And apparently the Allie QT Marshall story hasn't really gone anywhere since then. So maybe they're looking to break it up, and this is the way to do it. And it should be interesting to see. So QT is in for some hard times in the future. Kingston and his group, they're coming for you. Get ready. Next, we had Private Party versus Chris Jericho and Jake Hager. This was another good match. Mark Quinn and Jake Hager started off the match. Quinn attempts to drop toe hold to Hager. He couldn't quite get Hager down, but Cassidy helps him drive him down to the mat. Both then hit some stereo topes on both Hager and Jericho. Private Party showing some aggression to get the job done in this match, and I like it. I want to see more of that. Later, Hager delivers a boot to Quinn and drops him. Jericho tags in and begins the beat down of Quinn. Quinn later drop kicks Hager from the top and gets a tag to Cassidy as he runs wild on both. We come back from the break. Hager manhandles Cassidy. Later, Private Party hits their silly string in desperation onto Jake Hager, and he sold it nicely. Both tags get made later, and Quinn goes wild on both Jericho and Hager. Quinn then hits a nice Carnilo on, I think it was Jake. Jericho then later went for the Judas effect, but Cassidy dodged it, and it was an homage to the match that they had many months ago, pre-pandemic. They had a tag match with, they were in a tag match with the Inner Circle, and Jericho hit his Judas effect on Cassidy, and he remembered, so he dodged it this time. After, Cassidy misses, but later, Cassidy goes up to the top after he gets Jericho on his back, goes to the top rope and goes for a senton, but Jericho gets out of the way, and as he waited for Cassidy to get up to his feet, he gets hit with a Judas effect, and he sold it nicely, and he started twitching, etc. when he hit the ground. Then Jericho covered him for the win, and it was good. Post-match, Jericho continued to beat down Cassidy, but Quinn comes to the rescue for his buddy. And there was a nice shot where Mark Quinn was seen standing tall over both Jake and Jericho as he was in the ring with his fallen brethren, Cassidy, while Jake and Hager were on the outside, and Quinn was eyeing them both down. See, big things from Quinn, etc. going into the future. He could have a singles run coming for him down the line. I think that was a seed planted there. It was a good match. I liked it. And I give it, yet again, a 3.5. Great match. Great TV match. We have the NWA Women's Championship match, and it was Ivelisse versus Thunder Rosa. Both have a shoving contest to start and traded arm drags. Both then get into each other's face. Rosa gets off her tiaras on Ivelisse. Rosa then hits a powerful drop kick to Ivelisse. Then Rosa gets a gory special off Ivelisse, but Diamante distracts the ref. We go to picture-in-picture break after this. Back from the break, Ivelisse was in the midst of kicking Rosa in the chest. Later, Rosa hits a Death Valley driver on Ivelisse for a 2 count. Then Rosa hits a tombstone on Ivelisse for the win. Nice women's title match on TV. Rosa retains the NWA Women's Championship. Post-match, Diamante attacks Rosa, but Shida comes to her rescue and helps the NWA champ. And it showed her sportsmanship. And we have a match set for next week. It will be Shida and Thunder Rosa versus Ivelisse and Diamante. After that, we had a segment with Kip and Miro. Kip is backstage with Miro as he lifted some weights. He said, "We work hard." And did you say ring? Miro said. He wanted to get into the ring, but Kip later calmed him down and said that he spoke of a bachelor party. Apparently, we're going to get something involving a bachelor party in the future with Kip and Miro. Shall see how it goes. Some think it will not be good, but I have faith in AEW that they'll deliver a nice wedding angle. We'll see. Next, we have Lance Archer and Jake Roberts. They come out, but Lance comes out, and as he makes his entrance, he grabs someone from the audience, and it happened to be Fuego del Sol, and he chokeslammed the crap out of him. Jake then says that's what he calls a proper ring entrance. He's got a question. Would you trade your heroes for ghosts? Would you trade your pleasures for pain? They're all the same. If he's going to lay in bed with the devil, it might as well be the Tasmanian devil. He calls out Taz, which is surprising after they had a verbal altercation a few episodes back. They have to work together. Taz comes out, and he says, as we discussed earlier, we are excited and happy to do business with you two. He said they have a deal. When Lance destroys Mox, he's to give Cage that first title shot. This is Lance Archer talking here. He doesn't care how much whining Kingston does. The monster is going to go Godzilla on Daly's place. As Mox is about to talk on the mic, it's seen in the background we have some fans, quote unquote, were behind him in the stands. One was masked, and apparently it was Ricky Starks. Starks poses as a fan and attacks Mox. Cage then tosses the security aside. But as they beat down Mox a bit, Will Hobbs, who was freshly signed, he's newly signed to AEW, he then makes his presence felt. He comes to help aid Mox and ward off Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. Mox says, that's a hell of a team. Let me introduce you to my partner. Mox says he introduces Will Hobbs. He puts Will Hobbs over. And Mox says to Darby to get his ass to Jacksonville. We're going to war. And this is the kind of match Darby lives for. This should be good. Enjoyed that segment. And then we had the final match of the night. The main event. And it was great. A parking lot fight. Or brawl, if you want. The match starts in the parking lot surrounded by cars. Trent repeatedly slams the hood of a car on Ortiz. Chuck then sentons off said hood onto Ortiz. Trent then sentons himself on the car. They then grab a sheet of plywood and position it over a truck bed. Santana later grabs a baton and strikes down both. Trent is then catapulted into plywood. Ortiz then grabs a sledgehammer and throws it at Trent, but he dodges it. But the car took damage instead. Ortiz then suplexes Chuck onto the hood of the car and gets a 2 count. Chuck then brings a barricade rail and positions it onto a car. Ortiz attempts to suplex Chuck onto it, but he reverses and puts Ortiz through it instead. It bent the rail. He bent the rail. Later, Ortiz low blows Trent and puts him in the powerbomb position and delivers on top of the car hood. Trent was then put through the windshield of the car by both Santana and Ortiz. Later, Chuck attempts to choke out Santana with the bat, but Ortiz stops that. Trent's back is bloody at this point. The lumber breaks over his head. Santana then grabs a lead pipe. He attempts to end Trent, I believe, but Orange Cassidy later appears out of the trunk of a vehicle, and he orange punches Santana, but his hand was wrapped with a chainsaw. Oh, not chainsaw, but his arm was wrapped with a chain. He delivers Santana to the best friends. Trent then delivers a crunchy to Ortiz through the plywood that was set up on the truck bed for the win. Great main event, great TV match, great parking lot brawl, great hardcore-like match. Good stuff. It was fun. The whole night was fun. Every match delivered. AEW hit on every match. Before I get into all that, post-match, Sue pulled up in a new van and takes the gang home. And on her way out, she holds her hand outside of the window and flips the bird to Santana and Ortiz. And I say this was the best Dynamite of the pandemic era, bar none. The best Dynamite of the pandemic era so far. The episode was great. If you haven't seen it, I urge you to watch this episode. It was good. All the matches hit. All the segments were great. They didn't overstay their welcome, etc. The show was nicely paced. And we even got a great card going into next week. And we also have a special 1 hour episode of Late Night Dynamite. It's going to be on Tuesday after Inside the NBA on TNT. It should be good. It has a nice lineup. I believe Anna Jay versus Brandy. Ben Carter versus Scorpio Sky. And Sean Spears versus Matt Sydal. That's a pretty good card for a 1 hour Dynamite. Check it out. And there you have it. The AEW Dynamite review for September 16th, 2020. And I also have ratings news for you. Dynamite got 886,000 viewers for a 0.34 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic. And NXT got 689,000 viewers for a 0.18 rating in the same 18 to 49 demo. This is a drop from about 130 viewers last week when AEW got over 1 million viewers. And it's still good stuff. They didn't drop too bad with competition from NXT. Thanks for watching and listening. And I'll be back with another review or news video in the coming days. Stay tuned.